to it. Go ahead and bring a lot on. Ain't no giant, I ain't gon' fire on. Catch a fade, you I'm on, I'm gone. Y'all can catch the wave that I am on. I am icon, y'all are wide wrong. Think that I'm a reconcile bonds. Here ain't nothing to it though. This is on me, ain't got much to do with who you are. Keeping it true to from 10 L's into a milli though. But they already knew that those farewell to your opinions. Know that he is something. This is all me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Yeah, keeping it true to form, but they already knew that, y'all. Here we go.
What is up, North Central Ohio, and welcome to the area's premier high school football recap show, where we dive all in with the top plays, the best highlights, and of course, the Friday Night Phenoms. My name is Brian Skoronsky. I'm your host, but I got a couple of great-looking gentlemen joining me right now that are about to drop some factoids, some football knowledge on your brains. That's Erik Will, former Shelby football coach, teacher, and then just all-around awesome analyst. Also does some commentary for WMAN on Friday nights. And then Curt Conrad, who needs no introduction, been reporting for Richland Source for a while, been in the area writing killer stories for over 20 years. So, gentlemen, first off, give me a fact. Tell me something that you know is true about high school football in the area, Curt.
Well, it finally felt like football last night, right? We were at the same game, and it was, you know, I got out the mittens and the hat last night. It actually kind of felt like football. No, I mean, it is. I mean, we're getting down to it now. This abbreviated season. I mean, we're rushing up on week 5 here. It's going to be playoff time before you know it, and you know, some teams are really starting to make statements here.
Yeah, and for me, it's. I think Mansfield Senior is I would say probably the most improved team from week 1 through 4 weeks. Their defense is becoming ridiculously good, while their offense is finding itself, which is going to be through the air. I think Shelby's the most complete team in the area, with the marquee player offensively in Owen Fisher. Their run-pass combination, I think, is probably what separates them. They have a very good defense. And so I would say those two things to me just stand out. And then I'm going to add an honorable mention of what we know to be true, which is Ontario's continuing to prove all of us right. At one time they were the best 0-2 team. Now they're probably the best 2-2 team in the area.
And I don't think we fully appreciate what Lucas is doing either. I mean,
right.
They're on the road. They're, you know, in Troy last night. They're in Dayton basically. They scored 42 points against the only Division 7 team they've played this year. And Eric and I were talking a little bit about it. They are playing, you know, up 3 divisions basically, and it doesn't matter how good or bad those teams are that they're playing. I mean, it's like asking Shelby to go play, you know, why don't you go over and play Massillon and then play, you know, 2 other D2 schools. I mean, it's what they are doing is really incredible.
I think we've certainly all taken notice, and I think the state kind of at large now is starting to know that the Lucas Cubs are for real. We've got them coming up right now as we're going to spin back all the highlights that we captured last night on the runback. Let's begin with Mansfield Senior at Ashland. Ethan Hartley right away. He had a pair of Arrows touchdowns. This one made it 6-zip. Tigers respond though. Nakari Verdon, Wildcat scamper, evens the score, but Hartley's second TD run gave Ashland the lead for good. The Tigers put up 330 yards of offense, but score only 6 as the Arrows get it done. They're 4-0, Curt.
And we talked a little bit about the defense. I don't think anyone in the area probably thought that someone was going to shut down that Ashland offense and hold them to 13 points. Senior high is for real on the defensive side of the ball.
MOAC showdown at High C Park. Shelby taking on Galleon, and Marshall Shippard had himself a day, throwing 4 touchdowns to 3 different receivers. Here's Blaine Bowman with a grab in the end zone. Later on, how about Andre Hill making a 21-yard catch and a dash for 6? It's 14-0 Whippets, and you know that Owen Fisher gonna get in on the scoring party eventually. He went for $153 on 19 carries, and this thing was really never close. 14-6, Shelby cruises to 4-0, Eric.
Yeah, and they're going to continue to play really, really high-level football. Next week, real big test coming to Skiles Field. I think we're all excited about that one. But Owen Fisher, even on a little bit of a bum ankle, still churning out 150.
Lucas also seeking a 4-0 start, all on the road, and everybody was tasting some pater in white jerseys on this night. Here's Ethan Sauter breaking loose for the end zone. This run right here would make it 21-0 in favor of the Road Warrior Cubs. Second half now, Andrew Smolin takes one in with his legs, and the Cubs just continue to cruise, boys. 42-0 to kill the Eagles.
Yeah, and you know, this comes as no surprise to me when they finally get to play a school that is in the same division. They're gonna hang it on some people. I wouldn't want to play Lucas in the playoffs.
Mega matchup in the SBC Lake Division. Columbian at Bellevue, both entered undefeated, and Maddox Simcoe's 9-yard TD grab gave the Tornadoes a 7-0 lead, but the workhorse Keegan Ray would pull the Redmen within one just moments later as he got in for his first of 3 touchdowns on the night. Logan Beeson then airs it out, and how about this catch by LJ Reeves? He's doing the rest. Man, I think they call that getting mossed. 50 yards on that one. It was 14-13 Bellevue on top. Ray then seals the deal with the touchdown here. He had 46 carries, Eric, for a quarterback.
Hey, shades of Foos, shades of Santoro, Bellevue State ranked. I'm going to tell you what, if you want to get through that region, you might be playing those guys, because I'll tell you what, Bellevue is legit. Tiffin preseason pick to win that league, so that tells you how good the Bellevue Redmen are. That SBC Lake in general, stupid good.
Yeah, great competition up there. The Redmen with a big win. Another battle of 3-0's Plymouth at Monroeville. Eli Ott gets the scoring started. 5-yard touchdown run here makes it 7-0. And now Josh Roeder complete in the back of the end zone. Watch this catch by Trevor Schaefer. 17-yard strike somehow keeps the tiptoes inbounds. It's 14-0 Eagles. The Big Red would respond. Shea Sparks with his second TD of the day. This cut it to 14-12. Plymouth can't convert the 2-point conversion though, and then Ott and the Eagles close things out. Monroeville goes to 4-0.
There was a time not so long ago when Monroeville and Plymouth wouldn't have been a close game. And that speaks volumes for what Mark Genders has done at Plymouth.
Clear Fork visiting this stadium to tango with the Warriors. Colts led 14-0 actually, but Ontario got the offensive groove going on senior night. The water bug, Owen Hatfield, you see him with a 33-yard jitter for 6. Ethan Snyder then, he would put on a show. 10-yard connection to Nolan Payne. He finds his way back into the end zone again here. The Warriors ripped off 41 consecutive points. Jalen Scott with a big run here. Eric, you mentioned they might be the best 2-2 team in the area.
Well, I'm telling you, that's another team with this playoff setup. Do you really want to play Ontario week 7 or 8? And I'll tell you what, I'm happy for Coach Miller and that crew in this senior class, because they've been through the rings, and for them to be able to see this and have success, or be able to see this and have success, is awesome.
Northmore looking to end a 2-game skid last night, hosting Danville on homecoming night, but this 51-yard burst down to the 1 by Deion Parker would set him up for a touchdown. Later in the quarter, Northmore answers Nico Cristo from 18 yards out. No bueno on the 2-point try. 7-6 Devils at the half. Then Lehigh Lions increases the lead to 14-6 early in the third. Watch this, guys. That was a 2-point conversion to tie it. I watched the replay a bunch of times. He catches it. I don't know what the referee saw there 2 inches away. Instead, it's a Northmore loss.
Yeah, it is. I tell you what, Danville and East Knox is coming up here. It's the Devil Dog game, and man, that's gonna be fun. I think they're both 3-1. They're both real high in their regions. Pretty good football being played in the KMAC.
Yeah, and you got to think, Brian, like, everybody's in this year, but it's huge because now you're battling out for seeding.
Sure.
Like, even going back to that Bellevue and Shelby thing, like, you've got to keep winning, because that 1 and 2 seed is going to be the difference of potentially who you get in that second round. That's going to be really important.
Right, and I tell you what, and Eric touched on it. Would you really want to play a Mansfield senior team in basically a sectional semifinal or a sectional final game? I wouldn't want to have anything to do with that. It's like you drew the short straw.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk about the OCC a little bit more. Of course, we saw Mansfield Senior losing at Ashland. Worcester beat Mount Vernon, but that was a pretty good game. I think that was tied at half, 33-23, the final score there. Lexington shut off for the third time in 4 weeks. They can't get it going. They drop it 16-0 at West Holmes. And then Madison lost a nail-biter, actually 14-7 against Marion Harding. So I would say probably the biggest statement of the weekend, Ashland taking down Mansfield Senior, and the manner that they were able to do it, holding the Tigers to 6. What are you guys' thoughts on that one?
Yeah, that conference, I saw Madison last week, and you can see progress being made. They're getting closer, and you just hope for those kids that they're going to get one here sooner than later. They got Lex coming up. Lex has struggled offensively a little bit, so there's going to be some competitive games. I don't know what level of football is being played, but they're going to be competitive.
Right. And for me, I think Worcester is the clear-cut favorite in the league, in my opinion. I think Ashland's solid. I think Mansfield Senior has a really good defense. I think their defense is good as anybody. I think that they're still trying to find consistency on the offensive side. Week 6, we're going to find out Madison, Lex. For us, we're kind of looking at it like, man, they could potentially be, both be looking for their first win. But for those programs, a win right now is like being in a desert and wanting a drop of water. So, this thing's kind of shaping up to for that week 6 to be really important for those two programs.
There's no moral victories, but Lexington lost to West Holmes 16-0 last night, and that's a West Holmes team that beat the brakes off of Senior High in week 1. So there's being strides being made there too.
All right, gentlemen, let's dive into the MOAC now, where Ontario, we saw winners of 2 straight. River Valley beat Pleasant 28-14. Vikings are 3-1. They're going to play Shelby week 6. That's a big one. But we got to talk about who the Whippets are going to play next week. And the undefeated Lucas Cubs, 4-0 versus 4-0. I mean, you can't get much better than this. Pretty exciting stuff. Yeah, there's going to be a lot decided. This is, really kind of a Lucas home game at Skiles. With obviously we're not playing any games down in Lucas. I'm excited just because of the difference of offensive philosophies, who's going to win out as far as the run game versus Shelby's kind of, multiple attack or multiple approach. I think a lot of people would probably put their money on Shelby, but I'm telling you, man, Lucas would not surprise me if they were to get a win in this game. To me, it's the de facto MOAC championship game. Potentially, we got to see what happens with River Valley here over the next couple of weeks as well, because they're kind of playing some good football as well, so we don't want to make sure we skip just over top of them. I'm impressed with Ontario in this league. I think it's a tough game. I think they can beat a lot of teams, and they're finding their stride after, in my opinion, playing 2 really difficult teams out of the gate. They're settling in, and I think that we're seeing that they're better than average. I don't know if they're great, but for Ontario and where they were 2 years and even just a year ago, Coach Miller and his staff, kudos, man.
The level of play in that conference is really, really good. I mean, Clear Fork's 0-4, and I wouldn't be taking a breath if I'm playing Clear Fork because they're going to come out and hit you. I mean, from top to bottom, that conference is as good as any in the area, I think.
Yeah, the Colts are the only 0-for team actually in there, and I wouldn't want to play them.
Nope.
They've been competitive each and every week, with the exception of this last week at Ontario. But I love the Warriors too, Eric. I didn't realize that they had just about every single starter is a senior.
Right.
So I think that just probably the camaraderie that they have there, and then the love and the belief that they have within that locker room for one another. These kids have all grown up together. They could be a tricky out when the postseason comes around here in a few weeks. I'm looking forward to seeing how the Warriors continue to develop.
And sorry to interrupt you, Brian, because I know we're getting ready to move to the next segment, but I have an appreciation for the mentality that Coach Miller's instilling into that staff and into those players. And there's a point in time in every program where you get sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I think they've hit it. And I think that you're seeing the results and the fruit of that. So I'm a Warrior fan right now. I know what it's like to be on that. To me, the hardest thing to do in competitive athletics is go from tough, really bad. It's tough being really bad to, well, how do you fix it?
Right.
And Coach Miller's he's hitting the right buttons with that program to get those wins and to get them to play competitive football.
And you know all about that because at Shelby your first year, I mean, it was tough for you guys. I mean, you guys were playing a bunch of young guys, and but you built and then that ended in a state semifinal appearance. So.
And you had mentioned really bad, Eric. How about a 32-game losing streak for Buckeye Central? But hey, pop the champagne bottles, get out the confetti, because they won it, and they won it big last night to end the streak against Bucyrus. So we just wanted to give a shout out to the Bucks getting it done last night.
Coach Jensen shouldn't be buying a soda today.
No.
If he's around town, if he's walking around New Washington, make sure you buy him a soda.
Absolutely.
I don't know if there's a place to buy a soda.
Well, you at a gas station, whatever.
The Northern 10 Conference, though, I mean, it's a wrap now. We saw Colonel Crawford, they took care of Mohawk 20-14, and that's their last test because they got Bucyrus and Buckeye Central over their last 2. So I guess we can go ahead. If you want to crown him, as Denny Green, I believe, once famously said. But the Eagles, man, how about that? The real deal. They're probably going to get the league title this year.
I'm sure Ryan Teglovic doesn't want to tell his guys that they got the conference championship all wrapped up just yet. But yeah, they've done a tremendous job. I've known Ryan for years, and he's done a whale of a job there.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Being a South Central guy, taking the reins over at Colonel Crawford, having a lot of really good teams. I don't even know if this is his best team. since he's been there, but it's a really good team. But, they've been able to do the right things in this situation to get that league title. So I commend him, his players, that entire organization, because, man, they have just been chomping up that hill and battling up that hill, and they've gotten there. But like Curt said, they want to continue to play football, finish strong, and make that run in the playoffs.
Yeah, it looks like finally got up over the hump, and I know that Crawford is highly ranked right now, too, in their region, so that they could be in line for a couple of nice playoff victories as well. Let's finish up here with some Firelands Conference talk. We saw Monroeville in the highlight. They beat a pretty good Plymouth team. That sets up a nice Week 6 showdown against St. Paul that's probably going to decide the league, so it looks like they're starting to shake out. It's weird, only 4 weeks in, and we're talking about conference championships being all lined up and kind of signed, sealed, and delivered, but it looks like that's going to be the case. Monroeville and St. Paul here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, it's like old-timey when St. Paul and Monroeville were doing it for years and years in the 90s and early 2000s.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that's, they both those programs, especially St. Paul here recently, they have been the class of the conference for a long time now. And for a lot of those years, Monroeville was not far behind, and it's good to see them both right there again.
Yeah, you actually took the words right out of my mouth. I know when I was in school, it was always Monroeville, St. Paul. Those were... the wrestling programs were great. I mean, those were kind of the two perennial football power, and kind of wrestling and basketball and things like that. So, to have those two guys, it's a flash in the past. I was kind of, I was rooting for the Big Red just because I wanted to see that Big Red St. Paul game. Next week, with them being low, a little bit more local here, closer to us, I guess you'd say, right down, Gamble here on us in 61. So. But yeah, that'll be a great game. St. Paul's a tough out, man. They're just, most schools in that Firelands unite like, Voltron or something to try to take on the evil power that is St. Paul. But I'll tell you what, man, just, they got knocked off the pedestal last year, but it looks like they're kind of coming back with a vengeance.
And I think there's something to be said for their tradition and their legacy.
Right.
I mean, that Crestview team's a good team, and they went up there, and I think maybe the Crestview kids think, we're playing 25 years worth of St. Paul instead of just those 11 guys on the field. There's something to be said about the tradition up there.
And I think that's kind of how it was explained to me. Crestview, I think it was a 3-point game early in that one a couple of weeks ago, and they're driving, and then they fumble, and then you just felt the deflation on the sideline, just like, oh man, like you said, 25 years, we've seen this one too many times, and the Cougars just couldn't get it done. And something I think that is exciting for Plymouth is talking to Mark Genders this offseason. He did an interview with OH Report, and he felt like they were one year away from having a really good season. The fact that they were off to a 3-0 start and they were pretty competitive on the road at Monroeville, I think they're a little bit ahead of schedule, and they could be a tough out when they get into tournament time too. So exciting times for the Big Red. But what is this? Oh, it looks like the bat phone is ringing. Hello? Okay, sounds like Travis Berardi is in the building, so we're going to go ahead and invite him in. We're going to say goodbye to you, gentlemen. I know that you got some parties to go attend to, so enjoy your Saturday, boys.
Absolutely.
Always great being here.
Always a pleasure.
Have a great time, Brian.
Thanks.
All right, we're going to step away real quick. When we come back, we'll have Travis on the set for the Phenoms and the top 5 plays of the week. Travis is here. He's ready. All right, great. Oh, hey, thanks for keeping it with us here on the Saturday Pigskin, where OH reporter Travis Berardi back in the building. Been a busy Saturday for us here. We've had volleyball, soccer, all over the Buckeye State. But you're here and you're ready to talk about a little bit of Pigskin.
Yeah.
Let's begin with last week's nominees for the Friday Night Phenoms. Me and you just tallied these all up.
A lot of votes, too. Thank you, everybody, for voting because, other places don't get that many votes. We get a ton.
But after we totaled all of them up, earning 35% of the vote was... Go ahead and roll the video. That's right. Brock Hill, Mansfield Senior's quarterback, is your Week 3 Phenom. Had 4 total touchdowns in a win against Lexington. And Trav, I mean, he was just doing everything for him. He was running, throwing. Great day.
Yeah, those Ontario transfers, the Mansfield Senior, they really get games going. They get a couple games in there with that Mansfield Senior offense, and then they start going. And I know Andy Jardy, he said this was like Bo Jackson out of Tecmo Bowl and stuff like that, running a 20-yard run for 50 yards or something like that. But Mansfield Senior looking like the Mansfield Senior of old last week against Lexington. He is one of the main reasons why.
Yeah, no doubt. Brock's going to have to carry the load for them offensively. It seems definitely he needs to get it done, not only through the air, but with his legs. That was so week 3, though. Now let's meet the Friday Night Phenoms nominees for week number 4, presented by Spherion Staffing. Let's kick off the party with a dude that I'm simply referring to as the workhorse. A full-blown workhorse according to our graphic, and that's because this kid, Keegan Ray from Bellevue, did absolutely everything and did it lights out, Travis. 183 through the air, but the 46 carries on the ground. Phenomenal.
That's unbelievable. 46, are you kidding me right now? And there's 60, 70 plays then, because he still had a ton of passing yards with that as well. Bellevue, high-powered offense, and they're going to be a team that's going to be exciting in the playoffs.
Yeah, no question about it. And this kid, I liked his moxie. He didn't even seem tired after the game. He came up into the booth with us, had to march up all the bleachers, got up there, wasn't even out of breath after toting the rock 46 times, throwing it a whole bunch, and then getting into the end zone 3 times. But what I like the most is that he got the victory, and he knocked off one of their biggest rivals and the team that was picked to win the conference in Tiffin Columbian. So that's why Keegan Ray is one of our nominees.
And they're now leading the conference and leading the region, which we'll get to in a little bit.
So that is nominee number 1, but nominee number 2 is just going to have to wait because Keegan did so many great plays that we have to show just about all of them to you, and there were a lot, like we mentioned.
He had so many carries to pick from, yeah.
Hard to narrow it down to just a few. But how about this kid right here, Deion Parker? I know that you've seen him in person last night, so I'll let you do most of the talking here. He also was a bit of a workhorse, 24 carries, 180 plus on the ground, but then he did it on offense and defense.
Yeah, he had a huge 51-yard rush right here, as you're seeing. That led to the opening score. It was 7-6 Danville coming into the second half. Northmore started driving. He had a huge interception that really set their second touchdown up. He didn't score the second touchdown. He did score the first touchdown. Here's the interception, but he really was the offense and defense for Danville tonight. They had another rusher that put up some yards, but he was the one that got the chunk plays out for them and led them to a big victory.
So that was nominee number 2. Checking in at number 3, Mr. Everything Man, Marshall Shepard. Only 9 completions, but he was getting it done through the air. 211 yards on those, and then 4 touchdowns. So just about every other time that he was putting it up through the air, one of the guys that was catching it, Travis, getting in for 6 points.
Yeah, when he completed a pass, it counted, and it counted big. And just having him 4 touchdown passes, add that with Owen Fisher, add that with the defense that they have, and boy, Shelby, they're pretty darn good, and they're getting better every week.
Erik Will said right on these airwaves just a few moments ago that they are the most complete team in the area. I tend to agree, and I think that Marshall Shepard is a big reason why. He almost never turns the ball over. So accurate through the air, his decision making. He can also run it pretty well. And oh, by the way, he's a pretty darn good kicker. So he's on the field all game long for the Shelby Whippets, and that's why he is worthy of being a phenom this week. So was this kid right here, quarterback Ethan Snyder on senior night. Just a yard shy of 300, 5 total touchdowns. The dude put on an absolute show at this stadium.
Yeah, just a penny short of 3 bills, but you know what? It's awesome to see these Ontario Warriors just continue to fight week in and week out, especially after going 0-2. And I know you guys said this earlier in the show. Best 0-2 team. They're now the best 2-2 team. And hey, they keep playing like this, they could finish out 4-2 with a good seed because, yeah, everybody makes the playoffs, but you want to get a better seed. You want to get possibly a couple home games before the regionals go to a neutral site. And these Ontario Warriors, don't overlook them because they're sneaky good.
And while Ethan Snyder is the nominee this week for the Phenom, I think that you probably got to throw in some of his receivers in there as like A and B because, you know, Nolan Payne did some crazy things. The big 85-yard run by Jalen Scott. The Water Bug, Owen Hatfield was getting in on some of the big plays as well. So, I mean, he's got some crazy good targets to toss it to.
Yeah, and he's really accurate as well, so he can drop those dimes in there, and with the playmakers that they have, he is lethal.
So those are your nominees for this week's Friday Night Phenom, brought to you by Spherion Mid-Ohio, where they've got all the jobs. If you're looking, go to them. All right, so that's our top individual performances of the week. Now we're going to shift gears and talk about the best plays. Travis and I just totaled up all of the votes for the top 5 play of the week from week 3. And again, a ton of them rolled in, especially for this one.
Yeah, both on Facebook and Instagram, YouTube, like just the love that we're getting and the love that these players are getting is amazing, and they deserve every vote.
But after we totaled it all up, only one play could get the most amount of love. And with 43% of the vote, this play right here is your week 3 winner. Check this out. It is Joe Denny of Cardington Lincoln coming up with the INT, and he is going to get Ghost down the far sideline. See you later. That killed Northmore's opportunity to come back, still to win for the Pirates.
Yeah, it made it 20-12. It once again was 14-12. Northmore driving with a chance to possibly go for the win, and then this just put the nail in the coffin. Yeah, they only were up 8, but that pretty much knocked any momentum out of Northmore, and it got a huge win for Cardington.
So congratulations to Joe Denny. Like I said, 43% of the vote. So I didn't really know that we had a ton of fans out there in Cardington. Well, we know now, Travis, or maybe just people were impressed by the play. Either way, Joe is our top play from week number 3.
And Brian, can I do these plays this time?
Yeah.
Do you mind if I can call these?
I think that you guys know that we have a bit of a track record here on the Saturday Pigskin when it comes to the top 5 plays, and I've always tried to jazz this up with as much cheese as we can sprinkle on top. So we had G-Man and Storm write my script in week 1. Intern Mason tried last week. Didn't have as much flavor as I was hoping for. Maybe we'll get him a little bit of extra seasoning. But Travis has wrote the script for this week.
Hey, I'm an Italian. I love the cheese. I love getting that extra Parmesan on top, so I'll give it a go. Let's hit it. We start up in Belleville, where LJ Reeves will climb the ladder and snatches the ball away from the defender. 50-yard touchdown. You were there, Brian. What a play.
Yeah, I said right on the broadcast, I believe, that he got mossed right away, because this is the definition right here as we slow it down, up over the back of the defender, and then see you later. And I like how he strolled into the end zone, too.
However, Bellevue with the last laugh, they got the 20-13 win. Moving to North Bloomfield Township, where Danville's Dion Parker is off to the races. We just saw this highlight. The man is running like G-Man and Storm when they hear the dinner bell.
Ding, ding.
51 yards, but he's brought down at the 1. He would score on the next play as the Blue Devils would win on the road, but kid's got some speed up through the middle.
And I like how he gets skinny going up through the gap there, and then he turns on the Jets, just barely not fast enough to get into the end zone, but hey, just one more yard, they would cap it off.
Now over to the Galleon, where Mr. Do-It-All Marshall Shepard trying the onside kick, and if I tried this 100 times, I would not come close to the perfect ball that he kicks there. But watch the decleater on this kick. I feel sorry for this Galleon receiver. He almost gets it, and then just for that, decleater. And Ski, we had to have this on here because, hey, kickers are people too.
Absolutely. Special teams, 3 phases.
Moving to Ontario, Warriors backed up in their own end, throw the screen to Jalen Scott. He puts the defender into the spin cycle, then turns on the Jets 85 yards to the house as the Warriors continue to impress. And like I said, best 2-2 team around, and I would not want to play them in the first couple rounds of the playoffs.
And Jalen looked like a galloping pony. I just love when he gets down the
head
sideline.
move and all that, yeah. Finally, we head to the Fire Islands Conference. Monroeville driving on Plymouth, and it's Trevor Schaefer in double coverage, making the over-the-shoulder sliding catch in the back of the end zone. That catch was huge because it helped the Eagles pull off the big victory, 20-12, and they're tied atop the conference standings with St. Paul.
Big-time play right there. Tough to get those little toesies in. All right, so as always, you guys know I cut these up and I'll post them individually, and you can vote for your favorite top play and Friday Night Phenom of the week. But Trav, let's talk now about the OHSA released the regions and the rankings, so we actually finally know who's going to be playing who in the playoffs, or at least who's kind of categorized together. So I got a whole bunch of papers in front of me. I'm going to start with Division 7, Region 25, where the Lucas Cubs are tied for second right now. And other teams that we have in there, Norwalk, St. Paul, 3-0. They're probably going to be 4-0 by the end of the night. Climb up a few more spots. The Plymouth Big Red at 13th, so they're pretty far down for a 3-1 team. I'd say they're the biggest surprise. Crestline Bulldogs tied for last. They still have not won a game yet, so potentially we could see like Lucas versus Crestline in the opening round. Good luck, Bulldogs.
And also Monroeville is in there as well at number 7. So right now, according to Joe Idle, remember these rankings are not going to go into what the seeding is. It's just a helper for coaches to determine who they should seed. But right now, number 7 versus number 9 coming up next week, Monroeville versus St. Paul. That's St. Paul will probably actually jump up a little bit because they're playing right now. But so a top 10 matchup in the Firelands Conference, and then you have the Lucas Cubs at number 2 as well. So you have a lot of good area teams there. But I'm sorry, you're in the same region as Lucas, and they are really good.
Yeah, could potentially set up like a regional final or semifinal type of game with St. Paul taking on the Cubs. So you don't want to look too far ahead, but we already got that one penciled in. Let's check out Region 22 now in Division 6, where how about the top dog from North Robinson, Ohio, Colonel Crawford, sitting at number 1 right now, Travis?
Yeah, I mean, huge wins against Cary and against Winford really boosted them up, and then they had the win against Mohawk. So a lot of bonus points, a lot of quality wins, and those bonus points still help because coaches are going to see that Crawford got some big wins. That's why they are number 1 in the region, and they will get a top seed. I mean, unless something really bad happens and they fall in one of the next 2 weeks, then they might fall in the seeding, but they're going to be at least a top 4 seed, I believe, once the seeding comes around after next week's games. So Crawford, you're looking pretty darn good. You're gonna win your first Northern 10 championship. Knock on wood. Sorry, Coach Teg, but I just can't see you guys dropping these games. But that and a high seed, so it's gonna be a really good year at Colonel Crawford. But also you have Cary at 8 right now. Ashland, Crestview, they're at 11th. Seneca East, Western Reserve are in there as well, and then you have Bucyrus and New London at the bottom. But possibility for high seeds for Cary, Crestview, and then Crawford pretty much has one locked.
And I really like kind of the trajectory that Crestview's on right now. So I think that we could see like a second round type of matchup between a Colonel Crawford and a Crestview. So that's one that I have circled on my future calendar. Division 5, Region 18. Winford in there at number 9. Orville and then Marion Pleasant a little bit outside of our normal coverage area. So probably the team to keep an eye on in there is Winford. Looks like a tough one though. Ostego's number 1, Liberty Benton, Ottawa Glandorf, Northwestern. So there's some good teams at the top, but the Royals pretty traditionally, they do pretty well.
Well, yeah, Winford traditionally they make it to a regional semifinal at least almost every year. I know they dropped a close one a couple years ago, 8-6 or something in their first round game, or 6-0. But you think Winford will win a couple. They'll at least get a couple rounds in, but then once you get into that actual regional setting, it's going to be a tough region for them, but you never know.
All right, well, we saved the last 2 regions to talk about that have our most local area teams. D4, Region 14, where number 1 right now is Bellevue after that big win over Columbian, but the Shelby Whippets right behind them, scheduled in at number 2. Ontario starting to climb the ladder. They're halfway up there. They're at number 12 out of a 24-team region. And then we've got Clyde, who is the defending state champions. Wow, all the way down at 15 with just 1 loss. That's kind of a surprise. I don't think anybody wants to play them in the first round. And then Galleons at 17. Clear Fork way down at the bottom, of course. They haven't won, and then Upper Sandusky right in front of them.
You have to think, if Clear Fork can get a couple wins, they'll move up seeding-wise a little bit, but I wouldn't want to be one of those top seeds that gets Clear Fork in the first week just because Clear Fork's come so close, and you guys discussed this earlier. They took on Galleon in double overtime. River Valley was close. Lucas, who they're steamrolling their opponents, it came down to the wire at the end. So Clear Fork, one of those teams that they might be seeded low, but you don't want to play them in the first couple weeks. Kind of like in Ontario, but Ontario, they're going to be a higher seed. They may get a home game, just depending on how all those rules come out here in the next couple of weeks. But Ontario, like we said, they'll probably move up some. But Bellevue Shelby, this is looking like Coach Will's second to last year when both of those 2 teams faced in the regional final at Ashland. This might be kind of like something like that again, probably.
Yeah, that was an awesome game. I was there. I covered it. The Whippets put it on them pretty good. First time they had ever faced each other actually in postseason play, so we'll see if they get round 2 coming up this year.
Old NOL rivals, so That's going to be a fun game once we get there. But we got, 7, 8, 9 weeks before we even think about a regional final. I don't know how many weeks are going to be in this playoffs, 4 or 5 at least before regionals. So long way away.
That's a good point. All right, last but not least, let's talk about Division III, Region 10, where Tiffin Columbian, even with the loss, they're still at number 1 in the region. Ashland not far behind, though, at 4-0. They are ranked 3rd. River Valley, 5th right now. West Holmes, 10th. Norwalk, 12th. And Mansfield Senior tied for 14th. And then we have quite a few teams stacked down at the bottom that don't have any wins yet, like Lexington and Madison. So this is another intriguing one where we could get, and teams also do have the option to opt out of the postseason.
Yeah, this isn't locked down yet. This is a first look at all these regions. This is what they have down now, but teams could still opt out. That may open up a first round bye for some teams. I know there's some regions that have 25 teams, so there's going to be that number 1 seed gets a first round bye. So it's going to depend on the next week or so when seeding will come out, I believe, next Sunday. So in this next week, if some teams think we're not that good, we don't want to go in and get steamrolled by a number 1 seed, they might opt out and just schedule games against other teams. But right now, I mean, this is what it's going to look like. I'm really intrigued by Columbian and Ashland. You've seen Columbian play. I've seen Ashland play. I think that would be a really good matchup in a regional semifinal or a regional final.
Could be getting one of those coming up here, like you said, in about a month and a half. It's going to be a really long postseason. This is an interesting year to say the least, Travis, with the option to opt out of the playoffs if you so choose, like you had just mentioned, and then I don't know, a lot of different storylines and scenarios can still play out.
And also just looking at these rankings right now, Mansfield Senior, they're creeping up right there, but the way they've been improving week by week, say they get River Valley in the first week, I'd be a little bit nervous if I was River Valley, just by the way Mansfield Senior has been improving.
A little bit. I don't think I'd want to play River Valley in the playoffs either. This region's pretty legit from top to bottom. I mean, when you look at the bottom of the barrel team, Sandusky, I mean, maybe
Norwalk's
they're
down there
this
towards
year,
the bottom, and I mean Lexington, you have Madison down there too. Maumee, Bay, they were in the playoffs last year. They're 0-2. They're down towards the bottom. I mean, from top to bottom, except for maybe 2 or 3 teams, that's a stacked region.
All right. Well, what is this? Looks like the bat phone is ringing again. Hello? Oh, okay. Looks like we got some awesome soccer coming up tonight. Bay at Lexington. So I got to get out of here, and I got to go check out the 2 of the top teams in the state play, Travis. I know that you would be excited to see these highlights, right?
No, yeah, exactly. Bay looking for some revenge last year after that regional semifinal loss in overtime to Lexington in the rain. Lexington just, trying to get another big win before we get to districts.
That's right. But this is a football show, not a football show, so no more about that. But we do appreciate you guys watching every Saturday right here on the Pigskin. And only 2 more weeks left of the regular season. Can you believe it? It is flying by, but we got you covered for the playoffs as well. So long for now. Thank you to my guests, per always, Erik Will, Curt Conrad, Travis Berardi, and Adam Thompson, always back here running the sticks, pulling up the graphics, making us look good. Thank you guys. We'll see you again.